I haven't voted since 2004, I think.
You're kidding me.
No, I don't want to take any part in it whatsoever.
But I
But
mean, voting is how you change it.
really, my
I
one
would
vote
think, I would hope.
is the lesser of two evils.
Well, I mean, if
Yeah.
you and I both voted, and if we both got two people, and then those two people got two people, and it spread like that,
Come
then
on
maybe we
now,
could
come
make a
on. You've been
change.
watching too many of those PBS children's shows about how a bill becomes a law or something. I mean, I worked there. It doesn't work that way. But I
So if
mean,
you don't vote,
everyone does it their own way. Okay, everyone can do it their own way. That's how I've chosen to deal with it. And it's not a militant thing. It's not a religious thing. I don't bother with the system. And I liked Trump. I only wished he was as evil and bad as they said he was going to be. Right. So here's this guy he's gonna take us out of NATO. He's gonna get along with Russia. And who are his appointees? Oh, John Bolton, the ridiculous Nikki Haley, all of these scumbag neocons. So if only he was the monster that he was portrayed at, I would be a lot more happy.
how are we going to change things, though? I mean, so if you don't think it's through voting, why do you think it's not through voting?
Well, because it's through education. I mean, a moral society starts way before the ballot box. We have to return to being a moral society. And that's why I think even Dr. Paul said about abortion. Well, you can outlaw it, but you have to change the hearts and minds of people, because there's something wrong in a society that wants to kill children. There's something wrong in a society that wants to do this, that, or the other. So voting is only outward expression, of your membership in a club, or of your philosophy, or what have you. That's only the outward expression of it. So the content of your character is really what's the most important part, and that's why especially at the Ron Paul Institute, we spend all of our time opposing war overseas, opposing U.S. interventionism, and standing up for civil liberties at home. And once you get a critical mass of those types of people, then you can start taking over. I'm not saying not voting is right for everyone. I think it's great that people vote. I work with people who are organizing people to vote, and that's wonderful. I spoke at a couple of Libertarian Party functions, even though I'm not a libertarian. I think that's wonderful. But for me, I'll tell you one thing, Kim. I'll be honest with you. After the last person I voted for, by the way, was Jim Webb, as a Democrat who ran for senator in Virginia, and he was great and was terrific. I was very, very close to registering to vote when RFK came along. This thought, because I thought he was tremendous. His bravery in the COVID era,
Yeah.
standing up to the big corporations, standing up to corporatism. All of these things were great. Foreign policy, really great, really great, really great. And then, oh,
Yeah, right. And
what?
then nosedive off the cliff, right?
Are you
Yeah.
high? It was just terrible. And
Yeah.
so for me, that was it. That was it. And I'm not a one issue voter, but it's an indication if you are so bad on this, and even
On
I wrote
Israel, Gaza
on
in
Israel,
particular. Yeah.
Gaza.
Yeah.
As I wrote at the time, all he had to do was take the Ron Paul position, which is, of course, I support Israel. It's great. I want him to do well, but I'm a different kind of politician.
Right.
We've been doing the same thing over and over, and it hasn't been working. So I think the best way to support Israel is to do something a little different.
Right.
And that would have been it. Problem solved.
Problem
But he
solved.
went
Yeah.
so far off the deep end.
Yeah. Well, yeah, calling Palestinians a pampered people,
And
just
worse,
just
yeah.
going, yeah, just going really far. Yeah, I said the same thing. I messaged him at one point and said, if you just would take even a neutral stance, like just
Yeah.
be neutral at the minimum,
Yeah, be
but to,
pro-Israel. But I'm pro-Israel. What's going to happen to Israel in the Middle East? They're surrounded by people who hate their guts now more than ever,
right, right.
with a
Well,
lot
and
more
much of the
weapons.
world, and
Yeah,
much of the world.
much of
I
the
mean, they're
world.
they're making enemies everywhere at this point because of
Yeah,
the way they're handling the situation and the rhetoric of the people that they've allowed to be in positions of power. Now people are starting to go back and kind of recatalog everything they've known about Israel. Like, for example, the Oslo Accords, saying, okay, this was something that maybe had some promise. The Oslo Accords was just like a promise of a promise, right? Like
yeah,
we're going to try to get to this end point at some point. And then radicals, on both sides, of course, but the Israelis can't just sit there and blame the Palestinians when they themselves then had, a radical go and massacre dozens of Palestinians praying in a mosque. And then
yeah,
you got another group of radicals who assassinated Rabin,
yeah,
right? And then ushered in Netanyahu, who was firm on there will be no two-state solution. I will not let this happen. Israel's, He wants all the land. And so, you know, it's people are starting to really open their eyes. And I think it's a wise stance. You know, that's the way I'm pro people, right? I just want people to be free and to be able to live together. And I think that those two groups of people have to work it out.
Yeah.
But the way they cannot work it out when one group is so heavily oppressed by the other militarily
Yeah.
through occupation and you know, everything that goes on in their daily lives. It's terrible.
It doesn't work. We've seen that it doesn't work. It doesn't make Israel any safer. Quite the contrary. If anything, it stimulated every country around Israel to develop higher and higher tech weapons.
Yeah,
You know, to the point where Iran is a very sophisticated. Apparently, I mean, they claim they have hypersonic weapons. They may well have them. So you know that's
yeah,
stimulated that. Whereas, but you know, this all comes back to U.S. foreign policy, and that's the whole point that we try to make. If the U.S. hadn't provided a moral hazard, what they say in economics, to Israel. A moral hazard is that we will cash any check you write. If
right.
we had not provided that, then Israel wouldn't have been able to go around kicking sand in everyone's faces and taking their land. You know, they would have had to say, well, we are in a rough neighborhood. We're going to have to try to find a way to deal with this situation. How can we do this? Instead, they say, well, you know, Uncle Sam's going to fight our battles for us. We've already sent
Yeah,
how many thousands and thousands of guided weapons to kill people standing in line for bread, you know, now in Gaza. So really the problem is more the US. And I think it stimulates extremism in Israel. I mean,
yeah,
when Netanyahu was first elected in I think it was 96, I mean, I was living in Hungary and I thought, this is cool. He's a conservative. He's a cool guy. But he's a right winger. But now he's a moderate. He's actually a liberal in Israel now. So that shows how far things come when you radicalize a population. Just
yeah.
like, you know, when you have someone used to welfare in the U.S., they're not going to go out and work because they're taken care of. They're subsidized. If you subsidize something, you'll get more of it. Well, we subsidize extremism in Israel, and so we're seeing where that leads.
Certainly getting a lot of it. That is for sure. That is for sure. Hey guys, be sure to like, share, and subscribe if you like this segment. Now, you might be wondering, this seems like it's part of a bigger show. You're right, it is. The full show is at KimIversonShow.com. So, what you're watching is just a clip. And if you want to get the full experience, then you got to go to KimIversonShow.com. The show airs Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern at KimIversonShow.com. That is where you can watch the full show. Here, you just get clips. So, click on the link down below, go to the full show, enjoy. Otherwise, I'll see you next time right here. And be sure, once again, like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.